This video will contain multiple stories. I will leave a link in the description if you would like to read the comments on these stories. Also, most of the videos on my channel will have closed caption, so if you prefer, you can follow along that way. Please feel free to leave a comment. As always, thank you for listening and watching.
So, this girl is my brother's girlfriend's best friend. Her and I have tried dating twice before. The first time neither of us were in the right mindset, and mutually broke it off. The second time things went great, and then she just up and ghosted me. Now the third time came along, and I told her not to mess with me from the get-go. She said she was serious this time, and saw me as a potential forever thing. Fast forward a few months, everything is going 10 times better than our last try. She seems far more into me, calling me my love amongst other very affectionate things, which I did not reciprocate because of what she did to me before. I simply kept talking to her with heavy interest, but I have been careful to take it slow with her. Anyway, I invited her to my best friend's wedding, and she said she would think about it. She told me she wanted to go, and we planned for it when we met up together. That was the last time I saw her in person, roughly 2 months ago now. The week of the wedding, she started to become distant, and hardly responsive. Then she finally admitted not wanting to go the day of the wedding. I understand she is much like me, introverted, so I didn't mind at all. But she has remained distant ever since. I asked her to hang out multiple times, she agreed, then flaked every time or just beat around the bush to avoid giving me an answer. She works second shift at a warehouse and only has Friday off. They have been short-staffed since COVID, and she has explained to me how busy she is. No big deal, I understand getting tired and having no energy for conversation, and I let her know that. About 2 weeks ago, I noticed her ex posting on her wall again, saying I love you etc. They work together. I confronted her about it, and told her not to string me along again. She seemed extremely apologetic and explained that he's just a super pathetic dude. Well, now he's tagging her in love songs, and she will like the posts he tags her in. I'm totally confused by this girl. I said goodnight to her this past Thursday, and she didn't respond. I haven't texted her since and I haven't heard from her either. Writing it all out now, I feel maybe it's obvious. But, I don't want to jump to conclusions and ruin something good because I am impatient. Like I said, she's extremely busy and just bought a house. On top of working 60+ hours a week, she is also doing school. I told her not to play me in the beginning, and I told her to be honest about her feelings for me just the other day. Things were seemingly okay until now. I'm just trying to make a good decision and I don't have anyone to talk about this with, so I came here. So, my girlfriend and I have been dating for around 9 months now. It's honestly been pretty great, at least to me. That is until about 2 weeks ago, when we started having some fights. Our intimacy has always been pretty good. I don't want to go into too much detail, but we usually do stuff around 5 to 6 times a week, which I feel like is a pretty good bit. I have a job that has lately required me to work some longer hours. Because of this, I don't have nowhere near the amount of energy that I had before. Before this month, I was working a normal 40 to 45 hours a week. Now I've been working around 70 to 80. Needless to say, I'm dead a good bit of the time, and I require more rest. Well, my girlfriend still has the same amount of energy that she has always had, and still wants to be intimate like we did before. I'm only able to do around 3 to 4 times a week now if I'm lucky. So, I'm having to turn her down about 2 to 3 times. Every time that I turn her down, she seems to get pretty upset. She will try to force me to each time when I just don't feel like it. Now, I know I'm lucky to have a girl that wants me that much, but she just doesn't seem to understand that sometimes I'm too tired. At first, she was worried something was wrong with her. I assured her that there was nothing at all wrong. I tried to explain how tired work was making me. She didn't seem to understand and acted like I should still have the energy to be intimate with her. Last week she tried to get me to again. I told her that I was way too tired. She was more upset this time than before, it was like she broke. She started yelling at me and threatening to leave me or go be intimate with someone else if I can't do my job. She said that I'm a loser, and that she doesn't know if she wants to be with someone that doesn't want her anyway. After that, she said I'm not a real man if I won't treat her like she deserves to be treated. I was pretty stunned at this point. All I could do was look at her and stare. She left before I had the chance to say anything. Afterwards I tried calling. When she answered I tried to explain what I did before. I told her right now I was too tired. I explained how I did want her and that when the job eased up that things would go back to normal. I told her that with as tired as I am, that I thought 3 or 4 times is pretty good. She hung up before I could finish. I'm really shocked at how this has all went. She hasn't acted like this before. I didn't know that being intimate was that big of a deal to her in our relationship. It almost seems like that was the only thing keeping her with me. So, what should I do now? As bad as she was towards me, I'd still like to try to fix things with us. Should I try to apologize again, or wait for her to reach out to me? Should I try taking energy supplements, so I'll feel more like doing stuff? I'm just kind of at a loss right now. TL, Doctor, my girlfriend wants to leave me because I don't have the energy to be intimate as much as we used to.
Hey everyone. I don't usually post on here for advice, but I want to make sure that I'm being a good friend while still staying true to how I feel, changing names and some small details in case anyone we know sees this post. My best friend, who we will call Amy, started seeing someone when COVID started, around March. We will call him Dan. I was happy that Amy found someone, and me and my husband, Mitch, started to get to know Dan and try to become friends with him as me and Amy hang out a lot. Everything was fine until Amy and I would be hanging out and he would blow up her phone asking where she is. This was during heavy quarantine. She was almost always at home hanging out with me, or a couple other close friends. I saw that as a red flag, but Amy would just get in a fight with him then move on. Then our mutual friend had a small gathering. I guess Amy and Dan were in a fight, so he wasn't supposed to come, but we saw his car on the road, without him in it, and got confused. Amy got a hold of him and asked him why his car was there. I guess he parked, and then got heated because Amy was ignoring him, or something, and went on a walk. Amy met him at his car, and then he left. Later that night we were sitting outside and heard a noise. I would be the first to die in a horror film, so I walked to the end of the driveway immediately to investigate, and saw a phone light behind a nearby garage. I walked up to the light. And it was Dan. Creepily hiding, crouching behind the garage. I gave all that information because I assumed that would be the end of the relationship, but Amy broke up with him then, days later, was seeing him again. I was really confused, but Amy's her own person, and I decided if she was going to give him another chance, that I could as well, if he apologized to me, and my husband, because he really freaked us out that night. He gave us a less than heartwarming apology with little to no eye contact, or conviction, but we left it at that. Well, he screwed up again shortly after that, really exhibiting obsessive and stalker-ish behavior again, so I told Amy that Mitch and I would not be hanging out with him anymore, honestly partly because if Mitch saw him again in person, it would get heated without a doubt. Amy had a couple huge fights with Dan in front of me after that. It was over the phone, and was very stern that she did not want to see him anymore because he wouldn't change. So, for like 3 months now, I thought they were broken up, but I was suspicious the past few weeks as it seemed like she was hiding a guy from me. I finally asked her if she was still dating Dan, and told her why I thought so, and she said they're not technically together, but they are still seeing each other. I'm upset that she hid this from me, but I understand why. I don't think she wanted to talk about the relationship anymore so that she could pretend everything was fine. She's told me that I'm like a voice of reason, and I think she just wants to block that out. I guess my big question here is, what do I do? Do I go on as if their relationship doesn't really exist, and just continue hanging out with Amy by herself? I haven't heard of any toxic behavior since then. I know she could have been hiding it pretty well, since she was hiding the whole relationship anyway, but what if he has changed since then? Do I give him a fresh start? What if she starts to complain, vent about his behavior again? I don't want to make her feel isolated, but I don't want to just sit there and listen to the cycle repeat. There is also another small gathering coming up, and one of our mutual friends told Amy that she should invite Dan, even though he ruined her last party. I told her that would make me feel uncomfortable, but again it's up to her. I think I could manage to mostly just ignore him. My worry is that Amy or Dan will get upset if we don't try to talk to them. Also, let me know if that would be immature and if I should just make some small talk and get over it. I honestly don't know. The other issue is, I know my husband absolutely hates this man. He is upset that Amy is still seeing Dan, and the thought of even having to see him again makes him mad. I think he could be civil, but it would take a lot for him to be on good terms again. TL, Doctor, because this post needs it. My friend pretended for 3 months that she wasn't dating someone who was very obsessive, and made me and my husband feel unsafe and scared for our friend's safety. I now know that they are still seeing each other, and I don't know how to proceed. Maybe he has changed since then, because my friend no longer seems to complain when we go out by ourselves, or do I just continue hanging out with my friend only when she's by herself? He also might be at a small party we're going to in a couple weeks. Do I just ignore him, or do I need to make small talk and at least pretend to be friendly? I don't want to be overdramatic, I just want to be a good friend so that she doesn't isolate herself like before, but unless he has really changed, I don't want to feel like I'm enabling this relationship either.